The date was December 1944, the place Europe. Allied troops had fought from the beaches of Normandy to the German border. Now they were sure the war was all but over. They were wrong. On December the 16th, Adolf Hitler made his last desperate bid for victory. All German reserves in men and armor were thrown into the Ardennes sector, the weakest point in the Allied line. The Battle of the Bulge was on. What happened during those desperate days is now history, and history's recreated in Warner Brothers Cinerama production, Battle of the Bulge. The producer, American Milton Sperling, was well qualified for his job.
Now, Mr. Sperling, you were with a combat photographic unit during the war, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I was a Marine officer, and I had 10 combat cameramen. We covered 3 battles during the war: the Battle of Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima, and Tarawa. And I made 3 documentaries out of those films, and perhaps the most difficult filming I've ever had to do.
Did your experiences as a combat photographer during the war help you with the Battle of the Bulge?
Well, as a matter of fact, it did, only in the sense that making Battle of the Bulge recalled my own experiences in the war and made it quite possible for the sound effects you heard today to be as realistic as those that I heard when I was listening to them whining overhead.
Now, Mr. Sperling, I've always wanted to know, how does a producer go about setting up a film at such a vast scale as Battle of the Bulge? It seems rather like a military maneuver in itself.
It is. The logistical problem is almost that of setting up a campaign, and putting a film together under any circumstances is very difficult. This one was extraordinarily difficult because we were working under very bad weather conditions. We had to do the picture very rapidly, as we have a release date of December the 16th, and we began photographing the picture late in February. So this whole film was put together, photographed, edited, scored, and prepared for release in a matter of about 8 months.
Now, where did you manage to find all the authentic equipment that you use in the film?
Well, we had to scour Europe for this. There are places where such tanks do exist, you know. Sometimes in junkyards, sometimes in existing armies, and sometimes just by chance one finds a cache of tanks, guns, old planes, and various other relics of World War II. We managed to assemble these great numbers of tanks you saw in the film after looking about for months and months. We found both the German tanks, still relics of World War II, and American tanks, which are sometimes still used by our own forces. So what you see on the screen are truly the tanks that were fought in the Battle of the Bulge and throughout the Western Front and on the Russian Front in World War II.
Well, no wonder the battle scenes look so authentic.
They were authentic.
Mr. Sperling, what amazed me as an American producer and writer, in the first half of the film anyway, you've portrayed the American forces in a rather unflattering light. Won't this make you rather unpopular at home?
I don't think it's unflattering because, as has been the custom with our Western powers, and particularly in the last war, we always lose all the battles and win the wars, you know. And in this case, we did too. We did take a bad beating and mauling during the first days of the Ardennes campaign, but we came back very strongly at the end of it with the massive assistance of General Montgomery's armies in the north. Our film deals with only those first few days of surprise attack. Then the Americans rallied, of course, and held, as they did at Bastogne and they did at the Meuse. And following that, the British came in with their strength from the north and crushed the Germans completely.
What made you choose Robert Shaw to play the German Colonel Hessler?
A young man like Shaw and a handsome man like Shaw can play virtually anything that's given to him. So it was rather an obvious choice. There are so few good actors. Finding a good one makes them capable of doing anything.
Well, Mr. Sperling, it's a wonderful performance in a magnificent film. Very many congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Shaw, the Battle of the Bulge is probably one of the biggest war films ever made. Is working in an epic film of this scale difficult for an actor?
Yes, it's very difficult because you can shoot a little bit on location. Maybe you're going to enter an armored car or a tank or something, and you've got this thing that'll take 3 days to shoot with 500 tanks, and you come down over a mountainside. And then 3 months later, you've got to shoot the scene inside, and you've got to match it. You've got to come inside the tank, just as you left the terrain, or whatever you call it, 3 months ago. And also in an epic, you get a feeling the director's job's a bit different. He doesn't quite have so much time as you feel in a small, intimate picture. You can't talk about things because he's so dealing with armies, you know. A lot of energy goes on what they call the production values.
Now, The Battle of the Bulge is a very tough film to look at. Was it tough to make?
Yes, it was arduous. We were in the mountains, freezing cold. That wind is absolutely biting. There's a Spanish proverb about it, something about, I don't know what it is, but anyway, it was very, very miserable. And then we went to heat. Now, to be in the tanks was perhaps the worst thing, because in the winter, we were freezing in the tanks. And in the summer, I mean, you know, they got so hot that you have to come out every now and again. And when we got the smoke as well, that was almost unbearable.
Colonel Hessler is a pretty unpleasant character. Did you have any difficulty finding sympathy for him as a man?
Well, I'm not so sure he is so unpleasant, and I'm not so sure. I mean, I speak as one, as a novelist as well, whose books the Germans refused to publish. So I find it very funny that I should play this German, who I find really rather admirable in many ways. I'm not so sure that in England, particularly, he won't emerge as the hero. You know, I mean, the Americans seem genteel in comparison. I'm not so sure he isn't the hero of the picture.
Colonel Hessler is a man who lived for action, and William the Conqueror is a man of action. I know you're going to make a film about him very shortly. How would you describe yourself? As a man of action, a dreamer, a thinker, a romantic?
Oh, both, I think. I'm very romantic. But I'm also quite practical, and I'm full of physical energy. A dreamer, yes, I am a bit of a dreamer, but I mean, I'm a kind of blend of these things.
You're the only English-speaking actor to play a German in the film. The other Germans are real Germans. Did you find any resentment?
That's an interesting thing. I think that perhaps they would themselves have liked another German to be playing the part. And I think that they would give a sort of wry smile at the commercial necessity of having an Englishman in this case. But what happened was very funny, is that at first I was too German and they were too English. And I had to revoice a lot of my scenes, because the German accent that I was using, which I'd studied for months arduously, was a Prussian one. And it was much more German than any of the Germans. And so then I cut down, and that seems to work. I don't know. What do you think?
I'd certainly agree with you. It's a magnificent performance.
Oh, well, I didn't mean that.
Well, I do. In a wonderful film. Congratulations, Mr. Shaw, and thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.